Good evening, I'm Dan Wall.
And I'm Laura Lee. Thanks for joining us. With word of 4 more Duluth daycare facilities set to close for good, the city's childcare task force held a news conference today laying out plans to help solve the growing crisis.
In Northern News Now's Michaela Wrench was there getting an idea of how severe the problems become and what city leaders aim to do about it.
Childcare has long survived due mainly to women doing invisible work for less money, less respect, and less trust than they deserve.
April Westman owns Auntie's Childcare in Lakeside. She says in her 14 years in business, it's become progressively tougher to stay open due to red tape and taxes. The mayor wants to help, pitching the idea of using empty city buildings to house new childcare facilities.
Does the city own inventory that is underutilized or frankly not utilized that could be less expensive for childcare operators to use and operate?
He says another issue is when property tax or levy choices are brought up. Many people with no kids feel it's not their problem because they don't realize a growing population isn't realistic if they don't have childcare for all those potential new residents.
When we think about future growth of our community and when we think about trying to hit 90,000 people by 2030.
After more than a year of research, the Childcare Task Force voted on a series of ideas that they think will help. They include marketing campaigns, educating employers, and potentially providing financial assistance, like grants. City and industry leaders trying to work together to create growth that's conducive for growing families.
Pay your provider, thank your provider, know that they're here doing their very best work. And if there's any grant funding or anything out there, start supporting the people that are in the field instead of enticing people to come into the field when all of us are over here saying we need help.
In Duluth, Michaela Wrench, Northern News Now.
Michaela, thank you. Definitely a big problem. Now, we did mention 4 Duluth area childcare facilities now plan to close. They are Building Blocks, Observation Hill, YWCA in Spirit Valley, and an in-home provider. They all plan on shutting down by the end of the year. Building Blocks is closing Friday.